Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, of course, he's giving his first speech of the year this afternoon. Now, he's expected to announce that maths will become mandatory for all pupils in England until they reach the age of 18. It's currently 16, compulsory until then. So, what do we think? Is it a good idea to increase it, Carol? And is it what you were expecting the Prime Minister to be talking about today in his first speech of the year?
Well, as many people have already said, it's not really top of the agenda, is it, when you consider what else is going on in the world, and it's knocked everything else off the front pages, and it's like, it's the most important and the most revolutionary of things. But I seem to remember Tony Blair giving it the old education back then, and that was years ago, and still nothing's changed, because the government is saying that 60% of pupils are leaving school with hardly any maths education whatsoever. Now, the point is, take away the fact that it's a massive distraction from everything that is super important and really bad that's going on at the moment. What would be the point? That's what I would like to know, because when I was at school, some kids were good at maths. They could do maths. I was good at maths. I was really good at maths. It's the only thing I was good at. I mean, really, it wasn't the only thing I was good at. I was quite good at English, but I was good at maths. But there were some kids who just couldn't grasp it. They just couldn't do it. And I don't know what forcing kids to stay on for another 2 years learning maths or trying to learn maths is going to do, because all it's going to do is waste their time, really, when they could be learning more about something that they enjoy or that they're really good at.
I think he's saying, or the government is saying, that it underpins so many jobs and industries, and now in this world of tech and computers and data and comms, that they are probably going to need maths even more than we maybe did, and that he thinks they get a better chance. I'm assuming this is what you're going to say. I'm praising. I'm assuming Prime Minister. We'll find out at 2 o'clock. But, you know, that you give them a better chance if they, instead of just stopping at 16, if you make it compulsory, if they're staying on for A-levels, you keep up with the maths.
They should know by the age of 16 whether or not they've got an ability for maths and whether there's any point in carrying on. As long as kids can add up, you know, 2 and 2 plus equals whatever. Well done, Carol. See what I did there? 2 and 2 plus
but that is
9
the problem. A lot
something.
No, but that is the problem.
I think it is important.
They can't read and write either.
Well, I don't know. I think it is important. Like, I've always found I've got such an anxiety around maths. The minute you put out more than 2 numbers to me, I instantly think, oh, I'm not going to know what to do. Or, you know, silly things like in a restaurant when you're splitting a bill, I'll get my calculator out, or I'll just let everyone else figure it out. So I do think it is an important thing, even if it's, you know, even if it helps people with their money at home and helping you figure out, you know, how a mortgage works and things like that. If you can count properly, that's going to help. But I would say maybe that's something that's more important. You know, we don't really get taught how to get on the property ladder, or how to properly look after your money.
Yeah, some of the statistics here, it says about 8 million adults in England only have numeracy skills, which would be expected of a primary school child. So they're coming out of secondary school, senior school, but still only
But that
with the
isn't
ability
always because they can't do it and they haven't got an ability for it. That's quite often because the schools have too many kids in the class, or the teachers are not very, you know, good at teaching maths or whatever, because they have to teach everything. I don't know. I mean, I just find this whole thing annoying, because Rishi Sunak should be concentrating on terrible things that are going on in the world.
But I was surprised, Kelly. I said, when I saw this morning, I was like, really? That's your first speech of this year? And I'm not saying it's not important, but right now I don't care about it. Right now we care about the NHS, we care about strikes, we care about the cost of living.
Exactly. 100%. And as far as we're aware, that's not all that's going to be in the speech. This is just part of the speech, and he is going to focus on the NHS and all the other things that we're trying to tackle.
So that's the bit they leave.
But the bit that's been highlighted is the maths. Now, for me, maths is a very good skill. It's something that's transferable through many different job choices and career choices. For me, as a person in business, it was really difficult because I started out, I was a one-woman band, and I'm dyslexic, and I've got calculators as well. So
you what?
See, I'm going to struggle with that.
So that's like a dyslexia of numbers?
Yes, it's a dyslexia of numbers. Calculia.
calculus.
Please correct me if I've said it wrong. But yeah, so for me, it was always going to be difficult. So I would look at, you know, spreadsheets and balance sheets and look at the accounts and try and organise paying clients and things, and I'd have to work out percentages. I'd give it a good go, and then I'd ask somebody to check it for me, make sure it was right. Now, had I had, you know, a better level of understanding of maths, maybe it would have done better. But I do have a disability in that sense, so it is more difficult. Rishi, I mean, one of the stats which I thought was quite interesting. He said, right now, half of all 16-year-olds don't study maths at all, and I'm thinking, that's probably because they've made a choice. And when you're at 16, you make that choice, don't you? You make that decision whether you want to go off travelling or whether, you know, you've decided at that point, I now want to be a doctor or a nurse or whatever you've made in terms of career decision. So should we be looking at 16-year-olds making that choice themselves?
Well, we will see. Well, we're listening to his speech. What else he's got to say this afternoon. I believe that is happening at 2 o'clock.